Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Liam and this is my hobby room and it's a tutorial today. And what we're going to do is turn this kit, my Gelgoog Vertex, you can see my review down in the description below. You can check that out. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn that into this. What my sources assure me is a Warhammer Titan, I think. As you guys know on this channel, I know nothing about Warhammer other than some of the Warhammers are blue. And those are the ones that I've done in the past. I know that about them. I have some of those guys that I'll probably put with this project together because I'm gonna make like a little diorama. Diorama. There might be a few videos in this series just because while the customization I'm doing is actually pretty light, I just want to like kind of explain it as I go along and talk about the tools and supplies I'm using. So if you want to do any customization, then this video will come in handy and you'll remember all the tools and supplies that your old pal Liam taught you on Liam's Hobby Room, and you can use those to do whatever you like. So before we get into it, let's take a quick look at some of the tools and supplies I'm going to be using for this project. Ooh, first up, we're talking about Elmer's. This is a PVA glue. Did you like that little song? Did you like that little song, by the way? It's just a general purpose glue, and what I use it for is gluing down tiny things that don't have a lot of weight to them, that don't have to move, that are just gonna sit there and probably never be touched again, because it is a very light glue. It's also water-based. You can thin this with water and brush it on. So if you're doing things like basing, if you're creating dioramas and stuff, this can be a really, really useful tool. It dries clear, so that's a thing. That's nice, right? You can use any type of PVA glue. There are like hobby brands and stuff, but this one seems to work fine. Elmer's school glue is perfect for that kind of thing. So get some of that in your tool belt. The next thing we're going to talk about are cyanoacrylate superglues. These are 3 different types. They each have different properties. I'll just throw that over there. Throw that anywhere. That's fine. Okay, yeah, you can stay lying down then. What these do are create a bonding layer between 2 objects. You can use them to affix a variety of different things like photo etch parts, tiny details, whatever. These 3 glues have different properties that I'm just going to very quickly talk about. This one here is fairly thick and has gap-filling properties to it. That is a secondary property because its primary property is that it glues things together. If you want to take full advantage of the gap-filling properties on this glue, make sure you get some of the accelerator, also made by this brand. You just spray it on and within an instant it heats up and cures it. The more glue you put on, the longer it will take to cure. If you put too much on in one go, it's just not going to cure properly at all. It's going to be really gummy and be pretty much useless. So if you want to fill gaps with this, make sure to put on a little bit at a time or use the accelerator that BSI sells. Next up is another BSI super glue. This one is very, very thin. It's like water, comes out real fast. So you gotta be careful. This cures within 1 to 3 seconds. So woo, very quick. You just wanna make sure you don't squirt this all over your model kit and make a huge mess. But other than that, it's a very good super glue. The third super glue on our lineup here is the AK Interactive Black Widow, which sounds very extreme with like 5 X's. Everything AK Interactive makes has to just sound like the coolest version of whatever product it is. As you can see, this super glue is black. That's weird. It dries black too. I don't know why they did that, but this super glue does have a very unique feature, and that's that it is filled with tiny rubber particulates, which make it really good at creating volume while you're super gluing. So gluing irregular surfaces together, resin, stuff like that. This thing is really handy for that. You just have to be very careful you don't get the black super glue all over your nice finished model kit because it will dry black and it's not coming off. So with all of these glues, a really great thing to remember is to apply them with an applicator. Use a little spudger or a toothpick or something to kind of dab them onto the part you want to apply. Just because they have a tendency to get places you don't want them to be. So just be careful while you're doing that. Next up, we have 2 little cements here. Well, they're regular size cements. They're not little, I shouldn't say that. We have the white Tamiya cement. This is a fairly thick consistency. I use this primarily for closing seam lines and cementing together huge pieces. And then this one here is the extra thin quick setting type, which starts to have a tack very quickly. It'll hold things together, hold plastic together while you're assembling. It's very nice. It evaporates very quickly, so be careful of that. Like I said before, these are cements, not super glues. So how these differ are super glues create a bonding layer. These 2 things melt 2 plastics together. There are cements that that do like plastics. I just don't have those ones on hand right now, so these are the ones we're going to be sticking with. Alrighty. Alright, so what we have next is Tamiya Basic Type Putty. This is a lacquer-based putty with a very fast drying time. About 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes based on how much you're putting on. Once you put it down, it will shrink a little bit as it cures, so just be wary of that. So if you're filling a gap or some kind of hole with it, it's going to shrink down into that hole. So use a little bit more than you think you need, or just be prepared to go back and touch them up later. You can use this with wood, plastic, or resin. You can use it with pretty much anything, even though it says putty for plastic. And apply it with a spudger. I have a little spatula here. This is a sculpting spatula. I can't remember what brand it's from, but anyways, you can use anything. This is just what I use for all my plastics and glues. I use this stuff to fix surface imperfections, little scratches, divots, uneven plastic, all that kind of stuff. So I use this on literally every model I build. It's great stuff. The other thing you'll see me use is plasticard, otherwise known as pla plate, placard, plastic sheeting, whatever you want to call it. It's just basically polystyrene plastic made into sheets, rods, strips, tubes, whatever. You can get it in a variety of different shapes, sizes, thicknesses, lengths, well, all that stuff. I have a very large collection, a smattering of different ones. This is one of my bags of plastic sheeting. I use a lot of this stuff when I'm customizing because it's a really great way to add detail and build up your pieces, scratch build your own pieces. So you'll see me using a lot of these thin pieces in this build. These are all by Evergreen Styrene and Plastruct products. You can get these at bchobbies.com or BC Shaver and Hobbies in store. You should go check them out. Lots of great supplies there. And without further ado, let's start turning this mobile suit into a Warhammer mobile suit. I don't know what to call it. Someone hit me up in the comments, what in Warhammer, right? What is like a mechanized suit that's smaller than a Titan? Would this be considered a dreadnought? I don't know. I'm sure someone will have this information. Lord Thorak, I'm looking at you. You might be able to help me out. Anyways, let's get customizing. Some of these pieces are pretty plain, but I'm going to be adding some extra armor plating here and there, and also some Warhammer iconography, like the Imperial Wing insignia. I don't know what any of this stuff's called, but that. And I did mention in my review of this kit that a friend of mine gave me some Warhammer pieces, little Space Marine bits and stuff, and some what are they? I think these are sensors, and some transfer decals to use because I don't know what I did with mine, and so those will come in handy. I'll get to use those for something. So we're just going to take a look at some of these rivets. We're going to use the smallest ones for this project here, and we're just going to slice them off. This is really hard to do in front of the camera, so these are probably going to fly everywhere. Oh, there goes one. So, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a bunch of little rivets that I've sliced off and put in this little paint cup. And this is going to be what I use to keep track of them. So I'm going to set these aside for now. Alright, so I was putting these rivets on, and then I realized to myself, a lot of these Warhammer armor pieces have kind of like a stepped bit here, a stepped piece of armor, I don't know what to call it, but they'll have plating along the edge of it like so, and that's where the rivets go. So I chopped a bunch of the rivets off, which took a while. I haven't done all of them yet, but I've done some. And then I've got a bunch of these plastic card strips here. Really small ones and some not so small ones, and I'm going to be using those to line these pieces with. So let's get some cut up, and I will glue some on and show you what it will look like. This is pretty hard to do with the camera in front of my face, so that's fun. That's something I'm struggling with right now. So hopefully by now you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. There's just this little rim of armor that's going to go around. I'm going to have it come up this piece here, and then also around the whole pauldron. And that should be it, and then I'll put the rivets on top of that piece there. So I've brought a little bucket of water, a little bucket of agua in here, and oh god, I bit my lip earlier. Hurts to talk. So what you can do with this little bucket of water is you can kind of wash off your sandpaper in it. So what wet sanding does is it keeps your particulates from floating around in the air and keeps them out of your lungs. I find wet sanding actually makes things pretty nice and keeps things fairly tidy. All right, so here's my here's my butt plate. I don't know what the back skirt. Jeez Christ. Here's my back skirt. I'm just gonna dry this off, put some rivets on, and it will be done. So for reference, I'm using a Warhammer Titan, or a Space Marine Titan. I don't know what they're called, but I'm using one of these guys. And you can see on a lot of their armor they have bits of filigree and kind of, you know, flourishes and stuff like that. So what I'm gonna do is add some of those details to this kit as well. You can see I did a similar thing with the back skirt here with these little winglets on the side, and on the torso I also added some wings that I just cut from plasticard and cemented down. I'm going to do a similar thing with these pauldrons. Now that I have the armor kind of ribbing or whatever you want to call that on there, I'm going to add a little bit of filigree on the top of these. So I'm just going to cut that out of plasticard and glue it down. So let's just, you know, let's just get to doing that. Let's go make some stuff. So I don't know anything about Warhammer, so I don't know if this is like lore appropriate symbology or whatever. Also, I just don't really care. So as long as it looks cool at the end, that's really all that matters. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these out, these little guys, and I'm gonna put those on the pauldrons. Okay, so we've got our little pieces cut out here. I'm just gonna put some cement right where I need it, and it's just gonna be fairly light on cement. It evaporates pretty quickly, and I don't want a huge amount of cleanup, so you know, just gonna take it nice and easy. There we go. That'll stay where it's supposed to. And we'll do the next one. Oh, that one's a little messier. Oh well. There we go. And now I cut out these, well, they're really tiny, you probably can't see them, but I cut out these really tiny little crossbar pieces that are going to sit on either side, just to, you know, add some extra detail. There we go. More or less how it's supposed to look. These pieces are very tiny. So now I'm going to turn the camera off, I'm going to put a bunch of rivets on, and we will take a look at this when it's done. So let's go over some of the things I've done with this kit so far. So I've created this banded mail look by just adding different strips of plasticard onto here, and then I had to cut them down to size first, and then cemented them down, sanded them, and then added some little rivets on top here just to add some detail to the surfaces. I still have to add a couple rivets here on the head and on the top of this pauldron. So I also made these little wing details here with just by layering plasticard over one another. Each feather is its own little piece. So that is another thing I did. I also put this little skull here, this little 40K skull. It's kind of fun. Right on what was the cockpit hatch, now it could be a fuel hatch, who knows. It's my hope that the banded mail and the rivets actually decrease the scale, making this kit essentially bigger than it's supposed to be, which is 1:144 scale. We want to make it 1:160, whatever it is that Warhammer minis are. So I have this little runner here with a Warhammer Space Marine guy on it, and so that's how big a Warhammer figure will be compared to this kit. And they're going to be on the same base, so that's generally what it's going to look like. So I think I'm pretty happy with it. I have to add some detailing into the sides of the pauldrons here, but I think everything turned out pretty well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. There's still lots of work to do, and next episode we'll go over some of the other things that I'm going to be doing to this kit. But I think this is a good place to end this video here, just to show you what I've done so far, and then we will cover the next steps in the next video. The supplies I'm using in this project are super basic, and they will help you throughout pretty much any kind of plastic model customization or modifications that you may plan on doing, whether you're building planes, tanks, whatever. Once you learn how certain tools and supplies react, you can pretty much apply them to any project. And really the best way to learn is to watch a quick video, like this one, and then just start doing it. Just grab a kit and start putting stuff on it. Best to have a theme in mind before you start doing that, but you know, just a way to try it out. If you have any junk plastic pieces, maybe just try layering armor or putting rivets in, or you know, sculpting pieces on with epoxy putty. I haven't mentioned epoxy putty yet in this project because I don't think I'm using it for this project. But if I do end up using it, I will mention it. Maybe in the next video, who knows. But anyways, you can get all these tools and supplies at bchobbies.com, down in the description below, or you can go in store at BC Shaver and Hobbies, which is in Hillside Mall if you're in Victoria. You might even see me there. Look at that. I hope this video was illuminating for anybody who wants to do any kind of light customization. This is gonna be a really fun project, so I hope you stick with me in the next video where we go into making our base, diorama base for this project, and then we're gonna get everything ready for painting, and that's gonna be in the next video. So stick with me, guys. I will see you guys next time on Liam's Hobby Room in another tutorial video.
There's a place